That's Dragon Quest, man. It is unforgiving, which I appreciate, but also simple. Like there's not a whole lot to it. That might be Dragon Quest in a nutshell. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely those multi-phase boss battles at the end of Dragon Quest games.
Yeah.
Like this is signature that,
It's just,
although obviously simplified.
yeah. It's like you got to earn it, and there you go. You do beat him, and you save the kingdom, and he asks if you want to rule, and you say no. I want to go make
Play
my own.
Dragon Quest 2.
Yeah, I want to go play Dragon Quest. You want to make your own path, and your wife follows you, and there you
Who
go.
is his daughter?
Who's his daughter? Yeah, go with her daughter. Go with him, daughter.
Yes, daughter.
That's Dragon Quest, man. There you go.
The Ball of Light.
It is very simple, very simple.
And yet obscure in some regards. A sign of its times.
Yeah, this is you've played a lot of the older ones as you mentioned, and this is your first time beating the original. What is it? What do you think? What does that reflect on the series for you?
This is like the prototype. And, I've beaten 4, 7, Monsters, Rocket Slime. I played some of these spin-offs. Um, this one I think is a great originator in understanding its importance for the rest of the series. We're going to let alone the genre for a second. Although I know games like take influence from like this original style of turn-based RPG. It has many limitations that other series adjust for, and it has kind of a tragic history that is a forecast of what happens with the rest of the series outside of Japan. But lots to love, a lot of classic elements, and I imagine if this was my first game, I would have been very nostalgic for it, even experiencing it vicariously through magazines or manuals or
Mm-hmm.
box covers. I still see that NES cartridge artwork, and I go like, wow, that would be a real collector's item. I know that first one came with a map or something, or like some poster.
Right. Yeah. Maybe. Did it? That would be very useful. That'd be
I'm sure. Yeah, it's to have that display if
because I
you like
believe
it going into it.
in the original versions there wasn't any. Like
Hmm.
in game there was no map.
Right. Yeah. No in-game map. That's another thing. Like it's antiquated, but it's not unplayable. Some of these old games are unplayable. I like Zelda 1. Forget it. I'm not going to try it.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've tried it a little bit, but I'm like, there's no chance I'm getting through this. I printed out a walkthrough for this. I felt like I needed it. I feel like that's probably my ideal way to experience like some of these NES era games
Mm-hmm.
or Dragon Quest games, especially. The other ones, I think, like when I played Dragon Quest 4, pretty much played itself. Dragon Quest 5, I almost finished, but I got somewhere, I got stuck, and then I just left it alone because I was getting frustrated. Um, I think the later ones have their moments where they feel a little like, what do I do? This one, I think you need to have your hand held with like a visual guide, whether it be a map or a walkthrough or whatever. Um, but there's something rewarding about being able to say, I finished Dragon Quest 1.
Yeah. Well, okay, and for us especially, right? Because we're fans of the series.
That too.
But I pose this question to you: can you recommend this to somebody who hasn't played a Dragon Quest game before?
Not as their first one. I think it would tarnish what could be enjoyed in the series and make them hate it. I think that might be a pitfall. I was thinking you have to start with the first one. Like my first Final Fantasy that I played was like 9, and then I went back and I played 7, and I dabbled in like 15. So I don't feel like you need to start with Dragon Quest 1. I doubt there's anyone in this fan base that would tell you you should, unless they're like old school NES heads. That's not me. That's not you.
Well, yeah, I mean, like how many Final Fantasy fans? Because there's a lot more of those. How many Final Fantasy fans are like, my favorite is one?
Nobody.
Nobody.
Maybe one like some people might say that, but I
They're
don't
being
think anyone's going
stubborn.
to recommend you start with Final Fantasy 1. There'll be like 6 or 7 or 9. I don't know.
Yeah, Yeah. So but a lot of people really have that stigma to it, which always it irritates me. I like I get you wanting to like play a series from the beginning, but it makes a lot more sense to do it if it's like a story based series where they're all
Yeah.
like tied together. Which technically 1, 2, and 3 are tied together, but I don't recommend 2 or 3 to start with. So I had a
Well,
guy
three is a little different, but go ahead.
I had a guy once tell me that he couldn't play Persona 5 because he hasn't played Persona 1 yet. And I was like, man, like, you're going to lose an entire series because just that line of thinking is so destructive to me. I don't buy into that.
It's much different if you're like playing a Sonic game. You know, like you could play Sonic 1, 2, and 3 like that, like, you know, and that's nothing. But if you're talking about these lengthy RPGs, a lot of people, like even myself included, I'll start an RPG and I'll just put it down.
Yeah, yeah. And
And
it's
so
not even
like,
the RPG's fault sometimes. It's just life.
right, this is a 35-year-old game. Like that. You know, what's to say?
Yeah, what are you
Who's
going to get from this?
That's like hearing a kid nowadays recommend a movie from like the 70s.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just it doesn't happen. But I also wouldn't neglect it for that reason. I just wouldn't start with it.
Yeah, yeah. I think if you appreciate the series and that, you played a couple games and you're like, wow, I really, really like it. It's like, okay, try the inspiration for it. Like try the beginning from it and see if see what you can love from it. Because there's things to love from the game. Yeah.
I think this is more of a history lesson, and it's like than anything. And the problem is a lot of people don't have an affinity for history,
Mm-hmm.
and I think if you're interested in the roots of like turn-based RPGs, this is not necessarily why I'd recommend this. I think if you're interested in the roots of Dragon Quest, that's why I would recommend this. That I think that is the target fan base for this game nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I don't foresee it as like an RPG classic either. I I,
No,
I they wanted to introduce party stuff that didn't come until later. They couldn't even put a party in this game. Like I think I and as much as I don't like the series as much, I think Final Fantasy 1 is more of like an RPG classic than this one is.
Mhm.
Because it's got things that people like from the series and everything, and whereas this game is very stripped down to the point where it's like you said, it's more of a history lesson, it's more of an exercise into what they can do as opposed to like a full fleshed out game that you're going to be like, wow, that was quite a ride.
I will say though that this is an excellent game to play through if you don't really care about the story all that much, which is kind of disappointing because that was like Yuji Hoри's big thing was like, I want to make a game that everyone can connect with. Meanwhile, I'm just sitting here playing podcasts like, you know, like, oh, wow, the button mappers. Oh, what's that? I killed the dragon. Great.
Yeah. Super.
Yeah. What did Spencer say on the Super Mario 64 apps? Okay, yeah. So you get the point.
Yeah.